times you've been arrested? Okay.
Factual number.
And how did you tell his mom that her son was gone?
So it's just competitive energy and things that you say about other artists while you're in hip-hop culture.
One could watch this and think that you really hate because of the things that you post on Instagram.
And I die in the street about this, man. This dead serious to me. And then when I do rap man, this is full of this type.
Yeah, that's that's his body. I felt that, you know, all of those rounds were fired for me, you know.
50 Cent just dropped something wild, and it's got everybody talking loud. Clips connected to a documentary started floating around, and the vibe is heavy, like something serious is about to unfold. So what really happens when the internet's most infamous troll suddenly stops joking and actually makes a real move? On March 5th, 2026, 50 Cent posted, then quickly deleted, an Instagram screenshot with a headline that hit like a shockwave. 50 Cent reportedly developing Surviving T.I. and Tiny documentary. That wasn't just a random post, that was a loud signal, and the whole rap scene felt it instantly. This wasn't one of his usual playful stunts or sarcastic jokes. This felt calculated, almost like a warning shot aimed right at the industry. People weren't laughing this time. They were trying to figure out what was coming next. To really get why that post shook things up so bad, you gotta go back to where this tension first cracked open.
50 Cent and T.I. is back at it. 50 Cent jumped out there. He let him know that he's putting out a documentary, Surviving T.I. and Tiny. Man, listen to this. I'm gonna play where T.I. told 50 that he was getting ready to do the same thing to him. And then now 50 announced that he did it. We already know 50 know how to.
It didn't start messy. It actually started on a high note. T.I. and 50 Cent were reportedly in talks for a versus. Yeah, that same stage where legends go head to head, hit for hit, bar for bar. T.I. even framed it as a celebration, saying it was about honoring each other's catalog and legacy. Fans were hyped because this wasn't just any matchup. This was two heavyweights with years of impact, finally standing in the same spotlight, showing respect and reminding everyone what they built. But then, just when it looked smooth, 50 stepped in and flipped everything upside down. He came out and shut it down completely, denying any agreement was ever real. Suddenly, what looked like respect started turning into tension, and people knew right then this situation wasn't about to stay friendly for long. 50 Cent really played it slick at first, acting clueless in interviews like the whole versus talk was brand new to him.
Okay, so first, like, you know, it was really about celebrating each other's catalog. Me and this nigga talk back there, bro. This shit, I ain't just called a nigga out the blue. We talk like this.
You talking about you were 50?
Yeah, man, we talk like this shit, man. This shit just come out of nowhere.
He brushed it off like it never even existed, like T.I. was just making things up. Then he took it a step further and hit T.I. with the nickname King Rat. In hip-hop culture, that's not a joke. That's a straight-up accusation of snitching, and that label carries serious weight. That kind of title can stain a reputation instantly, especially in the streets. And he didn't stop there. He told T.I. directly to keep his name out of his mouth. No hesitation, no filter. T.I. wasn't about to let that slide, and he didn't keep quiet either. He came through on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast and spoke his truth loud and clear. He said, "We talked about this. We said what we were going to do. When I jumped out there, he act like he ain't know what was going on." You could hear the frustration in that statement. Like this wasn't just business. This felt personal.
Because if you're telling, you can't even look forward to going home.
It's gonna be hell.
Where you going after you get out? The neighborhood ain't accepting that. That you bitch ass nigga, we heard you's a rat. But even for me personally, my character, they would try to attack my character. They'll say he a rat or all you gotta do is ask him who I told him.
The way it played out made the whole situation look messy in public, like trust got broken in real time. What made everything hit even harder was the timing. T.I. had real momentum building. His single, Let Him Know, had just hit #1 on urban radio and was starting to push into the mainstream top 40. This wasn't a small win. This was a full comeback moment, the kind that reminds everybody why he's been respected for so long. It felt like he was reclaiming his spot, piece by piece. But right in the middle of that comeback, 50's comments dropped like a storm cloud. Instead of celebration, the conversation shifted to controversy. Everything T.I. was building suddenly had this tension hanging over it, and people couldn't ignore it.
At this point, 50 Cent should literally rent a wife and kids and have them make diss responses. And the fact that he would actually have to rent a woman and children to like him and to respond on his behalf on for T.I. and Tiny's whole family is telling.
And that social media jab, that was just the beginning. Because when it comes to 50 Cent, things don't stay surface level for long. There's regular rap beef, and then there's the kind that turns personal fast, and 50 took it there without hesitation. He went back to Instagram, his favorite battlefield, where he's been calling people out for years. This time, he posted an unflattering photo of T.I.'s wife, Tamika "Tiny" Harris. The caption still pushed that same message, telling T.I. to keep his name out of his mouth. But the real impact wasn't just what he said, it was who he brought into it. By pulling Tiny into the situation, 50 shifted the whole tone. This wasn't just about two artists anymore. It started to feel deeper, more personal, and way more intense than a typical back and forth. 50 made one thing crystal clear. This wasn't just music anymore. This had crossed into something way bigger. He wasn't just aiming at T.I., he was putting the whole family in the spotlight, out in public, with millions of people watching every move like it was a live show. And
when you got the right one. And be honest with y'all, man, T.I.'s a lyricist, man. T.I. was going. He was barring up on this one. He was barring up. You know what I'm saying? He brought up the Jadakiss situation, you know, when 50 and Jada went at it. Fat Joe, of course, Murder Inc. We all know how historic that battle is to hip hop. You know, the whole house situation, you know, with the burned down house, that whole situation, you know, you mad at Puff because he was going at your baby mom. So yeah, he was definitely throwing some shots at 50. And to me, at a point, and like I said, I'm a fan of both T.I. and 50 Cent. It gets to a point with like the memes and stuff like that. Like, all right, where that's limit, in my personal opinion, man. It's time to borrow.
He wasn't about to sit back and take that quietly. That's not how he's built. He fired back the way seasoned artists do, straight through the music, and he moved fast with it. He dropped multiple diss tracks back to back, including War and The Right One. You could tell he came prepared. No hesitation, no second guessing. On The Right One, he didn't hold anything back. He called 50 a small man in a big shell, a line aimed right at his image, trying to chip away at that larger-than-life persona 50 has carried for years. That wasn't just a lyric, it was a direct jab at his identity. But the moment that really had people talking crazy was when T.I. labeled him a 5-0 dispatcher. That's not just clever wordplay, that's a serious claim, suggesting cooperation with law enforcement. He even said there was paperwork, mentioning people locked up who supposedly had details connected to 50. That kind of statement doesn't stay inside music. It spreads fast and hits different in real-world conversations. This wasn't just entertainment anymore. It started to feel like something heavier, something that could follow both of them outside the booth. Then things escalated even more. The Harris family didn't stay on the sidelines. T.I.'s sons, King Harris and Damani, stepped in and dropped their own diss tracks aimed straight at 50. That shift changed everything.
Treated people how they treated us. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't nothing that I wanted to do. It was just something that just had to be done.
Domani, also, you dropped a record. It felt more, did you get any inspiration from, like, when I heard it for the first time, it reminded me of, like, Meet the Grams.
I would say, man, I just have questions. I just genuinely have questions, and I'm an understanding individual, and I know the reason people do certain things, it probably stem from how they grew up, how they was raised, even me.
Now it wasn't just two rappers trading lines. It looked like a full family standing together, responding as a unit. That kind of energy sends a loud message. It shows this situation touched more than just music. It got personal on every level. For most people in the industry, that would be the moment to slow things down, maybe even step back and cool off. But 50 Cent doesn't really move like that. By this point, he was already on to something else, something that hinted this situation was far from over. What 50 Cent was setting up next felt way more serious than any Instagram caption or diss track. This wasn't about quick headlines or viral moments. This was something deeper, something that could really shift how people see you. And the whole industry was about to understand exactly what that meant. Before that documentary talk even makes full sense, you have to look at what 50 had just pulled off, because that's the real reason everything went quiet. People weren't ignoring it, They were watching carefully. By the end of 2025, that screenshot started making rounds, and it hit different once people connected it to his latest move. 50 Cent had been an executive producer on Sean Comby's The Reckoning, a Netflix docuseries that landed like a shockwave across the culture. The moment it dropped, it shot straight to #1 on Netflix. No slow build, just instant impact.
Now, since 50 posted that he's doing the documentary, maybe you believe him. He just posted it this morning. But anybody in the loop knows that T.I. and Tiny have had several allegations of SA.
The series took a hard look at serious allegations surrounding Sean Diddy Combs, while also digging into years of industry behavior that people had talked about in private but never really seen laid out on that level before. This wasn't quiet gossip anymore. It was front and center, global, and impossible to ignore. It quickly became one of the most talked about documentaries of the year. Everywhere you looked, people were discussing it, breaking it down, reacting to it. And even though Netflix later made it clear that 50 didn't have full creative control and that participants weren't paid, that didn't really change how the public saw it. Because in the public's eyes, 50's name was still attached, and that was enough. His presence alone made people connect the dots, and the impact spoke louder than any behind-the-scenes detail. And the impact? It hit hard. Diddy's public image took a serious blow, and it showed just how powerful this kind of storytelling could be. What 50 proved with that move was something the hip-hop world hadn't fully faced before. A documentary can hit harder than a diss track, last longer than a lawsuit, and cut deeper than endless social media back and forth. This wasn't just content. This was strategy, and now everybody was paying attention. A documentary doesn't just disappear after a few days. It sits there, easy to find, easy to share, and it keeps following you no matter how much time passes. That's what makes it different. It sticks and keeps the conversation alive. So when 50 Cent dropped that now-deleted screenshot hinting at a T.I. documentary, people didn't just scroll past it. His caption made folks stop instantly. He wrote, "Remember how quiet I got before the Diddy doc?" He wrote, "Dame thought I wasn't coming." That line didn't need explaining. Everyone understood exactly what he was implying. This wasn't about making a diss track or throwing a few lines in a song. This was something way more calculated. He was signaling that he could do to Clifford Harris what had already been done to Sean Combs. Build the story, line up the platform, and let the cameras tell it in a way music never could. And then there was the title. That's what really made people uneasy. Surviving T.I. and Tiny. Just hearing that name alone was enough to spark reactions. Anyone who had been paying attention to entertainment news over the years immediately caught the reference and understood the tone it carried. That title wasn't random. It felt intentional, almost like it was designed to mirror the structure and impact of Sean Combs' The Reckoning. Same style, same kind of rollout, same potential to shake things up in a major way. Reports started circulating that the project could focus on past allegations that had already been publicly discussed involving T.I. and Tiny. The idea was that it could bring those claims back into the spotlight, right when the timing couldn't be worse for him. And then things got even more intense. Gossip journalist Tasha K, known for being right in the middle of high-profile celebrity controversies, claimed she had spoken to sources connected to 50. That added another layer of attention, because when names like that get involved, the situation tends to get louder fast. According to those reports, the plan wasn't just talk, it was already moving behind the scenes. Meetings, early discussions, quiet moves that don't show up online right away, but still carry real weight. That's the part that made people nervous, because when 50 moves in silence, something usually follows.
Tasha K claimed the project could dig deep, not just surface-level storytelling, but pulling in voices, timelines, and details that could reshape how the public sees everything. If that's true, then this wouldn't just be another headline. It would be a full narrative laid out for millions to watch and judge. And here's where it gets even more intense. In today's media world, perception can shift overnight. One well-produced documentary can change years of reputation in a matter of days. That's what 50 already showed, and people in the industry haven't forgotten it. Behind closed doors, you could feel the tension building. Artists, executives, and insiders all watching closely, trying to figure out if this was real or just another calculated move. Because if it was real, then it meant nobody was safe from having their story put on display like that. At the same time, there's still a lot that hasn't been confirmed. No official release date, no full project announcement, just strong hints, public statements and growing speculation. But sometimes that's all it takes to shake things up, and that's exactly what 50 seems to understand better than most. He doesn't always need to drop the full project right away. Just the idea of it, the possibility, the threat of what could come is enough to get people talking and reacting. Now everything feels like it's on edge. People are watching to see if this turns into a real release or stays in that space between rumor and strategy. Either way, the pressure is already there, and the spotlight isn't going anywhere anytime soon. There were even claims floating around that 50's team already had the project in active development. Now, to be clear, none of that has been officially confirmed, and there's no solid proof out in the open backing it up. But in the world of hip-hop drama and celebrity gossip, you don't always need confirmation for something to hit hard. The rumor alone can shake things up, and that's exactly what was happening. And 50 knows that better than almost anyone. He understands how fast information spreads and how powerful speculation can be. That's why that deleted post didn't feel random at all. It felt planned down to the timing. He dropped it right when traffic was high, when the most people were online and ready to react. Within minutes, screenshots were everywhere, reposted across platforms, picked up by blogs, and turned into headlines. Then, just like that, he deleted it. But by then, it didn't matter. The message was already out. That move left just enough mystery in the air. No official follow-up, no clear answer, just a cloud of questions that kept people talking. It created that feeling like something bigger might already be in motion behind the scenes. And then there was that line in the caption that really stood out. He said, "I hope this doesn't mess up your promo tour. They're gonna ask about your 20 assault cases." That wasn't random. That was aimed directly at his rollout. T.I. had been setting up his album, Kill the King, as a major moment. This was supposed to be his final statement, a closing chapter to a long and respected run in Southern rap. Everything about the rollout was meant to focus on the music, the legacy, and the impact he built over the years. Interviews, features, radio appearances, all of it was lined up to celebrate that moment. But with that one post, 50 threatened to shift the entire conversation. Instead of talking about the album, people would start asking different questions, heavier questions. And the situation behind those allegations is not simple at all. There are layers, claims, responses, and legal details that have been debated and interpreted in different ways depending on who's speaking.
It's already been known that there are 30 women, at least, that have had allegations of being kidnapped, drugged, raped. Y'all know what those words mean. And 50 Cent is saying he got 20 of them. And this surviving T.I. and Tiny coming.
That's why this part matters, because when stories like this start spreading, facts can get twisted fast and narratives can take on a life of their own. Back in March 2021, attorney Tyrone A. Blackburn stepped in front of cameras and delivered a press conference that sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. He claimed that more than 30 women had come forward with serious allegations against T.I. and Tiny Harris. The accusations included forced drug use, kidnapping, sexual assault, and intimidation, describing a pattern that was said to stretch over 15 years and across multiple states. These weren't vague claims either. The details being discussed were intense, and the story quickly took over headlines everywhere. For weeks, it felt like you couldn't scroll without seeing another update or breakdown of what was being alleged. Law enforcement took notice too. The LAPD opened a formal investigation and began reviewing the claims. They reportedly spoke with potential witnesses and looked into the situation seriously, putting real time and resources into understanding what was being presented. But after that process played out, no criminal charges were filed. Authorities pointed to the statute of limitations as the key reason. In simple terms, too much time had passed between when the alleged incidents were said to have happened and when the reports were officially made. That legal timing matters, and it limited what prosecutors could actually pursue. Now that's an important distinction. A decision not to file charges based on timing is not the same as a full legal clearing of the accusations. It reflects the limits of how the system works, where cases have to fall within specific timeframes to move forward. On the civil side, things continued for longer. There were lawsuits filed, responses from legal teams, and ongoing back and forth that kept the situation in the public eye. Then in August 2024, one of the most high-profile civil cases reached a turning point. A federal judge dismissed the lawsuit. According to T.I. and Tiny's legal representatives, the court determined that the plaintiff did not have viable claims to continue the case. Even with that outcome, the overall situation remained complicated. Different sides have continued to present their perspectives, and public opinion has shifted back and forth as more information and commentary surfaced. T.I. and Tiny have stayed firm from the start. Their message hasn't changed at all. They've consistently said, "We are innocent of these fake claims. We will not be shaken down." No switching up, no mixed signals, just a clear and steady position every time they've addressed it. And from a legal standpoint, there's structure behind that stance. Criminal investigations were closed without charges, and key civil cases were dismissed. Those outcomes gave them real protection inside a courtroom, backed by official records and legal decisions. But here's where things shift. 50 Cent isn't playing the courtroom game. He's operating in a completely different arena, one where public perception moves way faster than any legal ruling ever could. And that's the space he knows how to control extremely well. Curtis 50 Cent Jackson didn't land in this position by chance. Every phase of his career shows a pattern, a calculated evolution that keeps leveling up. He started as a battle rapper, sharpened his name through conflict, then turned into a multi-platinum artist dominating charts. After that, he leaned into social media, building a reputation for calling people out and creating viral moments. But it didn't stop there. He kept adapting. What used to be diss tracks turned into Instagram posts, memes, captions, and perfectly timed uploads. He knew exactly how to embarrass someone publicly before they even had time to respond. Millions of people watching in real time, reactions spreading instantly. By the 2020s, that approach had already proven effective. But then he took it even further. He stepped into documentary production, and that changed the game completely. Because now, it wasn't just about quick jokes or viral clips anymore. This was long-form storytelling, something that sticks, something that shapes narratives in a deeper way. And that's what made this next phase feel different. The music industry had seen beef, they had seen trolling, but this was a whole different level, and there wasn't a clear way to counter it. The Diddy documentary made everything crystal clear in a way nobody could ignore. It showed that 50 Cent had stepped into a new kind of power. This wasn't just music anymore. This was influence that could stick around for years. By attaching his name to a project like that, he proved he could be part of something that lives on a platform like Netflix indefinitely. That means new viewers keep discovering it, algorithms keep pushing it, and the narrative keeps spreading long after the release date. That kind of reach doesn't fade, it builds over time. Even when Netflix clarified that 50 didn't have full creative control and that participants weren't paid, it didn't really change how people saw things. Because at the end of the day, the impact spoke louder than any disclaimer. The conversation had already taken off, and there was no pulling it back. And then, 50 added another layer to it. After the docuseries dropped, he revealed that there were around 140 hours of extra footage that didn't make the final cut. That statement got attention fast. He even hinted that he could release that material on YouTube if he wanted to. No network, no restrictions, no waiting for approval. That wasn't just talk, that sounded like leverage, a reminder that he had more content ready and the ability to put it out whenever he chose. That kind of control changes how people respond, because now there's always the possibility of more coming. And now people were connecting the dots, because if that same approach gets aimed at T.I., the stakes look completely different. There's a big difference between someone dissing you in a song and someone building a full documentary around your name. One is temporary, the other can follow you for years. Songs come and go, they drop, trend, and eventually rotate out. But a documentary? That stays searchable, visible, and tied to your name every time someone looks you up. It becomes part of your public story whether you like it or not. And 50 understands that better than almost anyone, which is exactly why one question started getting louder and louder. What does this mean for T.I. moving forward? Right now, T.I. is in a position where every move matters more than ever. This isn't just about dropping music or doing interviews anymore. This is about controlling a narrative that's starting to move on its own. Because once a story like this gains momentum, it doesn't slow down easily. Media outlets pick it up, social platforms amplify it, and suddenly the conversation starts shaping itself without needing new information. That's the real pressure. If T.I. stays silent, people start filling in the gaps themselves. And when that happens, rumors can start sounding like facts, even when they're not confirmed. But if he speaks too much, every word risks being picked apart, clipped, and spread in ways that weren't intended. It's a tight situation with no easy path. At the same time, his legacy is sitting right in the middle of all this. Years of music, influence, and cultural impact are now being mentioned alongside controversy instead of just achievements. That shift alone can change how new audiences see him. And let's not ignore the timing again. With Kill the King positioned as a final chapter, this was supposed to be a victory lap, a moment of reflection and respect. Instead, the spotlight feels divided, pulled between celebration and tension. Meanwhile, 50 Cent is watching it all play out. He doesn't need to rush, he doesn't need to explain, because the uncertainty itself is doing work. Just the idea that something bigger could drop at any moment is enough to keep everyone on edge. That's the real strategy here. Control the attention, control the pace, and let anticipation build pressure without even confirming the next move. Now everything feels like it's hanging in the balance. One decision, one release, one unexpected drop could shift the entire situation overnight. And until something official happens, the question isn't just what 50 will do next, it's whether T.I. can stay ahead of a narrative that's already starting to take shape without him. T.I. is standing at a crossroads no artist ever wants to face. On one side, he's trying to lock in his legacy, and on the other, he's being pulled into defending his reputation, while someone with major influence is actively applying pressure. That's not a normal situation. That's a collision of two completely different battles happening at the same time. Kill the King was meant to be his farewell moment, a final statement from one of the most impactful MCs of the 2000s. This is the same artist who helped shape Atlanta's sound before the city went on to define trap music for the entire world. That kind of run deserves a clean exit, a moment of respect and reflection. Everything was lined up for that kind of send-off. A #1 single, a full rollout, interviews, appearances, the full victory lap that comes after surviving years in a tough industry. It was supposed to feel like a celebration of everything he built, but now that moment feels different. Every conversation around the album has this tension attached to it. And that shadow, it looks a lot like 50 Cent. And 50 didn't just leave it at hints or possible documentaries. He brought it straight into the music space too. On the Power Origins theme song, tied to his TV empire, he delivered a line that referenced the allegations surrounding T.I. and Tiny. He said, "Your daddy made your mama eat every box in Atlanta." That line wasn't subtle. It wasn't something people could misinterpret or overlook. It was direct, sharp, and designed to get attention immediately. Moments like that don't just stay in songs. They spread into headlines, social media, and everyday conversations. It keeps the topic alive, constantly resurfacing no matter what else is happening. And that's what makes this situation so intense. Because now, it's not just about what might happen next, it's about what's already been said and how far it's continuing to travel. At this point, the situation has moved beyond a typical back and forth and into something that feels calculated on every level. This isn't random energy. This looks strategic, like every move is designed to keep the spotlight exactly where 50 wants it. Because think about it, you've got social media posts, deleted screenshots, music lines, and the looming idea of a documentary all hitting at once. That's not coincidence. That's pressure coming from multiple angles. It keeps the conversation alive no matter where people turn. And the public is locked in. Every new detail, every reaction, every response gets picked apart in real time. Blogs run with it, clips circulate, and opinions start forming fast. In a situation like this, perception can start outweighing facts if things aren't handled carefully. For T.I., the challenge now isn't just responding, it's choosing how to respond. Does he stay focused on the music and try to rise above it, or does he directly address everything head-on and risk amplifying it even more? Either move comes with consequences, because ignoring it doesn't make it disappear, but feeding into it can stretch the situation out even longer. That's the position he's in, trying to move forward while something keeps pulling attention back. Meanwhile, 50 doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. If anything, the The silence between his moves makes things feel even more unpredictable. People are watching closely, waiting to see if he escalates again or drops something that shifts everything overnight. And that's where the tension really sits. Not just in what's already happened, but in what could happen next. Because if there's one thing this whole situation has shown, it's that this isn't playing out in a normal way. It's unfolding in layers, step by step, with each move adding more weight to the story. And right now, it still feels like another chapter could drop at any moment. At the end of all this, one thing is clear. The documentary itself is still officially unconfirmed. No network has stepped forward, no release date has been announced, and nothing concrete is sitting on any schedule. But here's the part that really matters. 50 Cent has built something most people in his position never truly get: the credibility of his threats. When he went quiet before the Diddy documentary dropped, people brushed it off. Some even laughed, thinking it was just another moment of trolling. But after seeing how that played out, nobody is laughing now. This time, when he hints at something, people are paying very close attention. So now the real question hits different. Is 50 Cent moving like a fearless voice, putting a spotlight on situations that the legal system couldn't fully address? Or is this something more personal, a long-standing grudge backed by resources, a platform, and the ability to bring old allegations back into the spotlight, even after courts have already weighed in? That line between justice and revenge is starting to look real blurry, and that's what makes this situation so heavy, because depending on how this plays out, it could shape how people view everything involved for years to come. And when it's all said and done, T.I.'s legacy might be tied to that exact question. Not just what was proven, not just what was said, but how the story was told and who controlled the narrative. Now we want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us know where you stand on all this. If you made it this far, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with anyone who's been following this situation. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next, because this story might not be over just yet.